You think your bank likes you. You think that smiling teller, that friendly customer service voice on the phone, they actually care about your money. They don't. The moment you walk into a bank, a hidden number gets attached to your name. And that number decides everything. How long you wait, how much you pay in fees, whether they call you back in 5 minutes or 5 days. Today I'm going to show you exactly how America treats you at every single level of wealth, from having $10 in your checking account to having $50 million sitting in accounts you don't even check anymore. And by the end of this, you're going to understand something that changed the way I see every bank, every loan, every so-called financial advisor. Stay with me, because Tier 3 is going to make you angry. Let's start at the bottom. $0 to $10,000. This is where most Americans live financially, and most banks treat you like a liability, not a customer. You get hit with overdraft fees. You get offered credit cards with interest rates north of 25%. If you call customer service, you're in a queue with thousands of other people, and the agent on the other end has zero power to actually help you. They read from a script. They can't waive fees. They can't adjust your rate.
Why?
Because at this level, the bank doesn't need you. You need them. And that imbalance is the entire game. Now here's something most people don't realize. Banks make more profit off people in this tier than almost any other tier combined. Overdraft fees alone generate billions of dollars a year in America, and the people paying them are almost always the ones who can least afford it. It's not a coincidence. It's a business model. Move up to $10,000 to $100,000 and something shifts. You start qualifying for actual rewards credit cards. Your interest rates on loans start dropping, sometimes by several percentage points. But here's the catch. You're still invisible. You don't get a dedicated banker. You don't get invited to anything. You're just a slightly more profitable version of the person in Tier 1. The bank tolerates you now instead of exploiting you outright. That's the upgrade. At $100,000 to $250,000, things start to feel different, and this is where a lot of people get fooled. You get a premier account, a fancier debit card, maybe a phone number that skips the regular queue. It feels like status. But behind the scenes, you're still not talking to anyone with real decision-making power. You're talking to someone one step above the call center, someone trained to make you feel special, while selling you products that mostly benefit the bank. This is the illusion tier. It looks like wealth treatment, but it's marketing dressed up as service. Then you cross $250,000 into the $1 million range, and the entire experience changes. This is where you get an actual private banker. A real phone number. Someone who picks up when you call, who knows your name, who can bend rules that applied to you just months earlier. Loan underwriting gets more flexible. Fees start disappearing, not because you asked, but because the bank now sees keeping you happy as worth more than the fee itself. You are no longer a source of small profit. You are now a relationship the bank wants to protect. Here's the part that should make you a little uncomfortable. None of this is about how responsible you are with money. None of this is about character. It's purely about how much liquid capital the institution can use, lend against, or profit from by keeping you as a client. Wealth doesn't just buy things. It buys access. And access is the real currency in this whole system, more than the money itself. Now think about where you are right now, today, in one of these tiers. Think about the last time you called your bank and got put on hold for 40 minutes over a fee that was probably a mistake in the first place. That wasn't bad luck. That was the system working exactly as it was designed. And most people go their entire lives without ever knowing there's a completely different experience waiting for them on the other side of a number they've never crossed. Stick around, because Tier 5 and 6 are where this gets almost unbelievable. We're talking about the world of $10 million and $50 million, where banks don't wait for you to call them, they call you. Where products don't have posted interest rates because everything is negotiated in private. Where a single phone call can move markets in your favor. If you thought Tier 4 sounded like a big shift, wait until you see what's waiting above it. Because there's one tactic used at the top that almost nobody talks about, and I'm saving it for later in this video, because once you hear it, you'll never look at financial advice the same way again. Let's go to $10 million to $50 million, the tier most people will never see up close. At this level, you don't call the bank. The bank calls you. You get assigned a dedicated wealth team, not one person, an entire team including tax specialists, estate planners, and sometimes even people whose only job is to manage your philanthropic giving, so it reduces your tax burden while building your public image. Interest rates become almost irrelevant to the conversation because at this point, the bank isn't lending to you in the traditional sense. They're structuring deals around your assets, deals designed to keep your money working for both of you quietly for decades. Here's something that will change how you think about the phrase financial advice. At this level, advice isn't really advice anymore. It's access. The people managing money at 10 million plus aren't handing out generic tips you could find online. They're offering entry into private deals, pre-public investment rounds, real estate opportunities that never get advertised because they're filled before they're ever public. The information itself becomes the product. And you only get invited into that room once you're already wealthy enough that losing money in one of these deals wouldn't actually hurt you. It sounds backwards, but that's exactly how it works. The system protects those who need protection the least. Now, $50 million and beyond. At this tier, the entire relationship with money changes shape. You're not really banking anymore in the way you or I understand banking. You have what's called a family office, sometimes shared with a handful of other ultra-wealthy families, sometimes built entirely around just you. This team handles everything: investments, taxes across multiple countries, insurance, even personal security in some cases. Your money isn't sitting in an account waiting to be spent. It's constantly moving, constantly working, structured across trusts and entities specifically designed so that even if you wanted to see one simple total net worth number, it would take your team days to calculate it accurately. Here's the tactic I promised you. It's called relationship pricing, and it's used aggressively at the top, but almost never explained to the public. At every level below the top tiers, prices, rates, and fees are supposedly fixed, posted on a website. Standard for everyone. But once you're a high-value relationship, nothing is fixed anymore. Everything becomes negotiable, quietly, on a case-by-case basis. Two people with the same loan, the same credit profile, the same collateral can get completely different rates, purely based on how much other business they bring to that institution. This is legal. It's common. And it's one of the biggest reasons the gap between the wealthy and everyone else keeps widening, even when the underlying math should be identical. So, what do you actually do with this information? You're probably not opening a family office next week. But there's a version of relationship pricing available to you right now, at whatever tier you're in today. Banks reward relationships, not just balances. If you consolidate your accounts with one institution instead of spreading them across 5, if you build a track record instead of constantly switching, you become someone worth negotiating with, even at modest levels. Call your bank. Ask directly if your account qualifies for fee waiver or a relationship discount. Most people never ask. The ones who do get approved far more often than you'd expect because the system is built to reward the specific people who understand how to ask. Picture this. A year from now, you've moved up one tier. Maybe not from 0 to $1 million, nobody expects that. But one tier. Enough that a fee gets waived without you asking twice. Enough that a phone call gets answered by a real person who remembers your name. That's not fantasy. That's the direct result of understanding the rules instead of playing blind. Money doesn't just grow through income. It grows through leverage, and leverage starts with knowing exactly how the system sees you right now. If this opened your eyes even a little, subscribe, because next I'm breaking down how the IRS treats you differently at every single income level and the mistakes people make at each tier that quietly cost them thousands of dollars a year. Hit subscribe now so you don't miss it.